jam-packed Cover 3 Monday after a pretty uneventful Sunday.
Some things happened. Jay Gruden got fired at 5 a.m. this morning.
Michelle, I don't know what kind of candle you brought for mood lighting on your honeymoon because Teddy threw 4 tubs on Sunday. That's some voodoo.
Yeah, you guys thought I didn't see last week when you forgot to light the Drew Brees candle, but Teddy Bridgewater coming through. Don't worry, we'll get to it today. That's all coming up on Cover 3. Welcome to Cover 3 on Yahoo Sports. I'm Michelle Gingras. Joining me, as always, is Liz Loza from the West Coast and Kimberly Martin right here in New York City. We've got a lot to get to today. After a pretty busy Sunday in Week 5, one Gruden is dancing, one Gruden's looking for a job. That key card does not work. Scott Pioli joins us to talk about Stephon Diggs' wink. But first, let's recap the headlines from Sunday. It's time to run the option. First up, the Redskins announced the firing of head coach Jay Gruden, who is entering his 6th season as head coach. He went 35-49-1 during his tenure with the team. So many would say that the writing was on the wall here. But Kimberly, you have to wonder, is this team in a better or worse position today?
If you saw Bruce Allen's press conference today, you would know the answer is no. The Redskins are not in a better position now because Bruce Allen is still there. They need a whole overhaul from top to bottom. Jay Gruden, if you've been paying attention, was not the only issue with this franchise.
Could not agree more with Kimberly. Also, haven't we seen this before? Bill Callahan taking over for a Gruden in Oakland in the early aughts. And then, yes, losing to that Gruden in the Super Bowl, and the following year leading a Raiders team with a banged-up quarterback to a 4-12 record and getting fired by Al Davis. History is going to repeat itself because you are absolutely right, Kimberly. The problem here is not the head coach, is not the quarterback. It is the ownership and the president of the team.
Talking about history, under Snyder, since his tenure began, the Redskins have let go of 5 coaches. They're still looking for that winning recipe, and it doesn't look like getting rid of the coach is always necessarily the answer. So that's going to be an interesting one. Moving on, 2 big NFC contenders fell 3-2 over the weekend. The Bears lost to the underdog Raiders in London, at one point finding themselves down 17-0. So much for that defense. And the Cowboys lost their 2nd straight game, losing at home to Green Bay. There were big expectations for both of these teams. So, Liz, which NFC contender are we more concerned about here?
Well, come on, Michelle. You know I'm never not worried about the Bears, and I can't believe that Khalil Mack didn't get his revenge game. But I do think the way that the Dallas Cowboys have lost their back-to-back outings is concerning. I mean, this is a game in which Aaron Rodgers did not have Devontae Adams. He didn't score a single passing touchdown. It was Aaron Jones who went off for over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch both had 9 tackles apiece. So what the heck is going on? Also, Dak Prescott. Bro, you got to make better decisions. I understand that your left tackle was out and Lyle Collins left in the 3rd quarter. But if you want $30 to $40 million, then you got to keep it clean.
See, I agree 100% with Liz. The Dallas Cowboys are looking really fraudulent right now. And I hate to say that because I thought, Jerry was silly not to pay Dak. But who have they really beaten? The Dolphins? The Giants? I mean, come on.
They've come up short in some real tests.
And Dak, he's 5-9 against winning teams. That's a problem. He's not going to get paid like that.
All right, so on that note, let's move on over to the AFC. Big surprise on Sunday Night Football. The Colts playing that lockdown D, holding down the Chiefs to just 13 points, the fewest points the team has scored since Mahomes took over. It raises the question now, besides the Chiefs and the Patriots in the AFC, Kimberly, who's your 3rd challenger, the Colts or the field?
I'm taking the Colts. Just call me Miss Cleo because in the preseason, I named Frank Reich my preseason coach of the year. I thought this guy, losing Andrew Luck, I thought he'd be able to keep it together. And the reason is, look at the way Ballard and him have structured that team over the last couple of years. It was to take pressure off Andrew Luck, to not make it so that Andrew has to make all the throws, do everything himself. Well, guess what? Andrew Luck's not here. They've got a defense. They shut down the Chiefs, right? This is a good team. Just watch.
Well, by that logic, Kimberly, the Raiders should actually be the number 3 lead. Well, the Raiders beat Indianapolis at Indy, they are a 3-2 team. I don't like the looks of it, but they are lulling these other teams into trap games and trouncing when they can. I also think the Texans need to be part of this conversation, though. Their big test will be next week at Arrowhead. And they're not going to be able to follow the same blueprint as the Colts because they can't play keep away with that offensive line.
We can't overlook Deshaun Watson's 5 touchdowns. So with that, that's a quick look around the league. One topic, though, that we all want to spend a little bit more time on is this Stephon Diggs situation in Minnesota. Diggs was back on the field for the Vikings Sunday after missing practice due to an illness and being fined by the team. He didn't do much, but the Vikings won, so, all is good. After the game, he had this to say.
Do you want to be in Minnesota?
Yeah, I want to be in Minnesota.
Delvin was saying.
I see you there with that little wink. Okay, so we now welcome in friend of the show and 5-time NFL Executive of the Year, Scott Pioli. Scott, Diggs isn't the only player to express unhappiness with his current situation. We'll get to that in a second. But first, how did you interpret that wink?
When I first saw it, it came along with all the noise that in the internet or on the internet. And when I looked at it, I tried to put it in context of being a team leader. And there's so much noise generally that we try to keep out of the locker room. When I saw that, my first question was, okay, was that a reporter that he knew? Was that someone that he was just winking at, acknowledging rather than doing the head nod? So I wasn't that put off by it. Again, maybe I'm naive, but I think we spend so much time as a front office trying to make sure that we don't let drama from the outside or drama that has been created or overblown to not come into our building. I didn't take it that badly.
From a front office standpoint, do you think that maybe you're more prone to kind of look the other way in a situation like that? As you mentioned, you don't want to bring the drama in. You kind of want to maybe even overlook it if you can.
Yeah, Michelle, I think you don't totally overlook it. You pay attention to it, but you certainly don't overreact to it. And that's the big thing, is you don't overreact because we don't know what his intent was with that. What message was he sending? Was it a message to the club? Was it a message to other people? Or was he just winking at somebody? So again, be careful sometimes not to put our spin on things internally, because that's when you do that, that's when you get a situation where the player feels like you're disrespecting him because of, I wasn't doing that. So it's just eliminate the drama as much as possible.
Well, Scott, I have a question, because I feel like this time of year, right ahead of the trade deadline, which is October 29th this year, these sort of rumors kick up in larger fashion, right? And it is interesting because whether there is truth to the rumors or not, there are certainly rumors that Diggs would like to be traded. And this is kind of a larger problem, if you want to call it a problem, a larger issue, I suppose, in the NFL. My question is, he had a matchup against the Giants secondary, which is all sorts of leaky right now, and he wasn't used. Adam Thielen finally got loose, though. Next week, he's got the Philadelphia Eagles secondary. That's another banged up secondary that could be quite generous to opposing receivers. So is there any truth to front offices wanting to showcase a player who may potentially be on the trade block, especially when the matchup is so juicy?
Liz, it's a really fair question to ask. Again, what I would say, though, as a front office member or a head coach, all you really care about is winning the game in that moment. So to set someone up to have a good game or to have a bad game isn't anything that really happens within a club. But it is a fair question to ask, because unless you know, or unless you're inside, or unless your job is actually riding on the outcome of that game, I think what teams are really looking to do is just win the football game and not get wrapped up in showcasing, because the flip side of showcasing someone could also be a situation where you put a player out there and he gets hurt before you can trade him. So it kind of goes both ways. And but I think that the main focus is winning the football game on Sunday.
So, Scott, here's the thing that I always wonder. If a player like a Jalen Ramsey or Stephon Diggs intimates or says outright, I don't want to play here, as a front office guy, as a team, how do you massage that relationship? Obviously, these are talented guys, so you want to keep them on your roster. But at what point is it better to cut ties than have somebody who's not happy in your organization or in your locker room?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kimberly, because what you try to do is ride out the storm as long as you can. You try to communicate with the player, find out what's truly wrong, why they don't want to be there. Have they been insulted? Have they been disrespected? Are they just miserable? Do they have other things going on? Do they have family members and or agents in their ear too much? Because that's part of what get some of this going. So I think you need to sit down and have, again, in my 27 years, I've seen it go a lot of different ways. I look back to a situation in 2001 where we had Terry Glenn. We had just signed him to an enormous contract in 2000. At the time, it was a big $50 million contract, and he got himself into some trouble. In May of 2001, he had charges brought up against him. Then he tested positive. And the league suspended him, and he just kept having these self-inflicted issues. But then the next thing that happened was he got popped by the league for a 4-week suspension. During that time, he was so distraught that he took himself out of training camp, and he wasn't showing up for us. So what we had to do was send him the 5-day letter. After the 5-day letter, he still didn't show, so we had to suspend him. Then he comes back, and we had to reinstate him. And this is how long these things could possibly go. This is where the Jalen Ramsey thing could go. And the way that played out that whole season was eventually we actually had to suspend him again for the playoffs and through the playoff run and go through the playoffs and win our first Super Bowl without having Terry Glenn around. And, the one thing that happened in this situation that really helped us as a club, not to have leverage, but just to try to keep some sanity in the situation, was we followed the rules to a T. And I look at the Jalen Ramsey situation, and they've got someone from the same family, and Tom Coughlin, who is all about following the letter of the law, and he's going to do something to keep things. Again, regardless of what the coach says or what other people say, Tom Coughlin is going to make sure that organization is buttoned up tight in handling this situation.
Scott, players wanting to be traded is nothing new, but with this new social media age, and now they have this national platform, they can bring the fans in, they can bring anybody that looks on or checks Twitter to I guess, kind of air out their dirty laundry. Does that change the landscape at all when you're trying to make a decision, and especially when you're trying to keep things internal from a team perspective?
Yeah, it absolutely. I don't know if it changes the decision, but it certainly it changes how you have to pay attention to things. Because Michelle, you bring up a great point. Because what happens is, where it used to be a player would have this situation, they talk to family members on the phone every once in a while, and then maybe the friends and family would say something, or the agent would say something within that conversation, or to one writer, or to one other media person. But what happens now is this stuff has exploded, and it's family members that are tweeting, it's family members that are putting things on Instagram, it's agents that are doing it. So it's really changed things quite a bit, because what I think we've all learned is whether there's this enormous landslide of a bad situation going on, it's going to appear that way. And one thing we've learned through social media is that perception becomes, if it doesn't become full reality, it becomes an element of reality. And it's really made it difficult for everybody involved, because it's not just the teams that have to deal with the mess. But unfortunately, I think what happens is in the court of public opinion, players start looking worse than what they really are as human beings. And they look, more selfish at times than really they are. Or in an impulsive moment, they say something and they wish they could get it back.
Yeah, it can have a negative reaction for the player as well. But from your perspective, if you were in charge of a team, what would the message be to these players about how you want to handle this in an effective way?
Well, I think
and if I could piggyback on what Michelle is saying really quickly, on top of that, the perception that maybe the player doesn't look good is an interesting one coming from the front office, because I think that sometimes these front offices don't look great because they are trying to maintain control on a losing team. And these players, I think now with social media, let's advocate a little bit more for them. So I think those two kind of questions
disconnect,
can melt. Yeah.
And they clash with one another, because, again, remember what the head coach, the front office, the owner, what the team is supposed to do. You use the word control, but that's part of the job that we have, is we're supposed to, stabilize the ship as much as possible, control things so you can focus on the most important thing, which, again, is winning a game. And that's, one of the things I learned with the group of people that I worked with for so many years is the more that you can get a situation under control and get everyone to focus on the task at hand, even though you have a personal situation, a personal issue, focus on the game. Let's win games, and then hopefully everything else will sort itself out.
All right, Scott, thanks so much for joining us. We'll be talking to you again soon, I'm very sure. Coming up, Baker Mayfield and the Browns go up against Jimmy G and the undefeated 49ers tonight. But first, we asked Jerry Rice to cover 3 with us. Check it out.
My top 3 wideouts in today's NFL. At 3, Larry Fitzgerald, and I'm still a big-time Antonio Brown. Then Julio Jones is at number 1. My top 3 defensive backs that I faced in my time, I don't like defensive backs, man. Rod Woodson, Darrell Green, Deion Sanders. The top 3 GOATs, well, we already know who's number 1. I would say, got the top 3 GOATs. Let me be serious here. Jim Brown, Joe Montana, Tom Brady.
Okay, so things have been a bit different in San Francisco since the days of Mr. Rice, but a 3-0 start this season has Niners fans hopeful once again. They welcome in Baker Mayfield and the 2-2 Browns tonight, 8:15 Eastern, streaming right here on your Yahoo Sports app. Okay, Kimberly, let's start with you. The Niners are the only undefeated team left, not named the Patriots. Should we be surprised?
Of course. Did anybody see the 49ers as undefeated up until this point? I understand, you look at their schedule, you can make an argument, well, they haven't played any stiff competition and they haven't played anybody in their division yet. But Jimmy Garoppolo coming off the knee injury and this defense, they're getting after people. And the 49ers are the only team that hasn't allowed a rushing touchdown yet, and they're about to face the Browns, who have Nick Chubb, so this will be interesting.
Liz, on the Brown side, we've seen 2 different versions of them this year. They are 2-0 on the road, so which one will we see tonight?
Well, I think that this team, Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, likes the bright lights, and this is a primetime game. I think Kimberly's absolutely right about the San Francisco 49ers defense because that D-line is getting after it. So the question is, can the Browns O-line continue to coalesce? Now, let's not forget, against the Ravens, Baker Mayfield was only sacked 1 time. Also, keep an eye on the connection with OBJ and Baker Mayfield because that really hasn't fully gotten into play yet, and the secondary in San Francisco is banged up. Jason Verrett's not there. Akello Witherspoon's not there. Instead, it's second-year man Emmanuel Mosley, who's played 4 games in his 2-year career, undrafted out of Tennessee, that's going to try to man the perimeter. We know Richard Sherman doesn't travel, so OBJ is certainly, I think that Baker is going to pick on Mosley and try to get OBJ involved, and maybe they can hook up enough to cook up some magic ahead of Halloween.
Do you think that we're starting to see the Browns team that we talked about, in week 1 before they didn't perform the way we hoped they would?
Girl, let us go. Yes, let us go to Believe Land. Who doesn't want to live in Believe Land? I am optimistic, and I like the San Francisco 49ers team. Why not? This is going to be a very big test. I like the bright lights again. And if it is moving forward and this team is coming together and ascending, I am here for it. If not, this is a very good test, and I like the 3-0 49ers too.
Okay, so scores aside, Liz, let's start with you real quick. Who's winning this one tonight?
Browns.
Yeah, I'm with Liz. I'm with Liz. I think the Browns, Myles Garrett will take care of business. Even with the busted secondary that Cleveland has, I think they've got enough pieces. OBJ likes the spotlight, like Liz said. So.
Yes, so let's round it out. I'm going Browns too.
That means 49ers are winning.
Yes, they're going to knock on wood for that one too. Okay, all right, guys, more coming up, including whether or not John Gruden, speaking of knocking on wood, is a troll. But first, Liz got a little help from our friend Tyler C. You may know him from The Bachelor on the shotgun. Check it out.
Hey, Liz Loza here with Tyler Cameron. Since you did play quarterback at Wake Forest, you know a lot about the shotgun formation.
Yep.
Would you like to diagram that for us today?
I would love to.
All right, great. Let's play.
Shotgun is becoming a huge thing in the NFL right now. Mainly because a lot of guys in college are all taking snaps from shotgun. Most of the time you're watching NFL, you see a quarterback under center. That's pretty much the prototypical way quarterbacks play the NFL. This is shotgun when the quarterback's back here. And how this works is he takes 2 less steps in shotgun than he would under center. So if he was under center and he had a 5-step drop, the ball would be snapped. He said hike, so you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The running back would come over here for protection, and he would be able to make his reads and his throws. It's all about timing with the receivers. Now, if he was in shotgun already, or in shotgun here, quarterback would now take 3 steps. So 1, 2, 3, and he can make the same reads and it'd be the same timing for his receivers.
So in shotgun, the quarterback starts further back already, so he has fewer steps to take.
Exactly, and by being a shotgun, it allows the QB to look at the defense. Instead of being under center and being in all the chaos and the mess, he can already see what's going on, take the snap, make his reads. It's a lot more beneficial for younger guys in the league, like Kyler Murray, like Lamar Jackson, so they can see what's going on and they can react a lot better.
So they're taking, Kyler and Lamar being prime examples, are taking more snaps out of shotgun in college, and so this helps ease the transition.
Exactly, it helps ease the transition.
And
gets
for
them out
Kyler,
of-
it helps with the high distance.
Exactly, and if you're a shorter guy, being back here, if you snap the ball up here, you got 6'6" linemen across the board. It's gonna be way harder to see than it will be if you're back here in shotgun.
Cool, well thank you so much for showing us the shotgun formation. I can't wait for my next play date.
Tyler C, brains and beauty. What does that guy not do well aside from, I guess, win The Bachelor? But Lizzie, looking forward to your next play date as well there.
Come on, ladies. Come on, settle down.
So as always, there are a few things on Sundays that I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna keep going before you jump in there, Liz. That get the internet fighting. It's our job to take sides and determine who is right. It's time for us to pick teams. First up, as if things couldn't get any worse for Redskins fans. Yikes. After losing 33-7 to the Patriots yesterday, Tom Brady decided to dunk on them again on Instagram with this. Come on, a little unnecessary there from Tom. But Redskins fans didn't do much to stop this from happening. So Kimberly, are you team sell your tickets or stay and boo?
Oh, I'm team sell your tickets. You know why? Because Redskins fans have nothing to cheer. So why not? Get some money on the secondary market, save yourself the embarrassment of and the time of actually going to FedEx Field, which is not a fun experience anyway, and then watch your team lose at home. I see nothing wrong with that.
I am also on team sell your tickets, but instead of saving that money for yourself, why not pool it together and take up a collection among the fans? You can buy this damn team away from Dan Snyder. Re-own this stuff, get him out, and then bring some dignity back to our nation's capital.
I'm gonna have to go against you guys here. I'm staying boo. You know,
come on.
It may be a surprise to you that I'm a Saints fan. I don't know if I've mentioned that before. But you know what? The days where they used to wear bags over their heads and we referred to them as the Aints, but you still show up. You know, the Browns had years of not being good, and now they're starting to reap the benefits of it. If you're a real fan, you show up for your team. That's how I feel on that one. So next up, over in London, after the Raiders' upset win over the Bears prevented them from enjoying their now infamous post-game club dub celebration, John Gruden decided to have a little celebration of his own.
I don't have a disco in here. I don't have a disco. Well, let's all start dancing.
This is like my favorite video ever. Liz, you go first with this one here. Are you team dancing or team trolling?
I mean, I'm team, can somebody check this man's blood sugar levels? What is going on with that? Okay, so yes, I am team trolling. Clearly, Gruden is trolling, but I am here for it because when Khalil Mack doesn't get his revenge, John Gruden should.
You know what? I'm team dancing. I watched that. I didn't think it was a troll job. I just thought it was a really really scary lack of rhythm type of movement from that coach. So I just thought it was a middle-aged guy trying to dance not well. So I didn't even think it was trolling.
I'm team dancing too. You know, I think he was caught up in the moment. He actually said that it's the happiest he's ever been in his 57 years. He's got a wife and kids too. I mean, but like that was his happiest moment.
Loved that.
Yeah. So I'm for team dancing and I love it. I want more of it. This is a really fun John Gruden. Last we go to Philly where the fans
dances like no one's watching.
Oh yeah, but that's okay.
Like nobody can see him. Like he's in the dark. Yes.
I dig it. I dig it. Okay, so last we go to Philly where the fans are always the classiest. I bet one of my producers, who is a Philadelphia fan, put that in. After beating the Luke Falk-led Jets 31-6, we were treated to this vicious fan encounter in the stands. As funny as it was, seems a little unnecessary given that it was the Jets. Kimberly, are you dumping this perfectly popped popcorn. Are you team waste it or team worth it?
I'm team waste it, only because how much did that popcorn cost?
Oh my God, probably
you're
like
at a
50
stadium.
bucks.
Like it's not. And in all seriousness, like the Jets fans, have they not suffered enough? They have Adam Gase. They have they have a quarterback who has mono. Darnold's not there. Trevor Siemian, Luke Falk. Come on. Save the popcorn. Like let them have their dignity, maybe.
There's an unfortunate amount to unpack in this one little clip. Number one, talk about rubbing popcorn salt in a wound. I agree with Kimberly. Number two, whose parents this is a child disrespecting a Jets fan? I mean, way to be on #brand, kid.
Yeah, it sounds pretty Philly to me. No?
Yes, very
I guess
Philly.
Ron will tell me later.
Very, very Philly. Yeah, you don't waste the popcorn. That's just obvious here. All right, so that's it for picking teams. All right, guys, we covered a lot today. Is there anything we missed?
Does anybody care that Kyler Murray actually won his first game? Anybody? No?
It's exciting.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yep. Does anyone wonder if Dan Quinn is next on the hot seat? Because the Falcons, under his, right, this is no good. The Falcons need to get it together.
That's going to be a topic for Week 6, I have a feeling. So that's all the time we have for Week 5. Stay locked on your Yahoo Sports app for Browns-Niners coming up next. We'll see you next week.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, Melvin's a good football player. I mean, we welcome Melvin back to our offense. But he wasn't ready, to play a whole game, so I didn't play him a whole game. But he played some. I mean, he didn't have many opportunities, I can tell you that, but he played okay.
He's getting comfortable. The NFL is a different game. It moves fast, and you can tell it's slowing down a little bit for him. We're going to have our ups and downs along the way, but you can definitely see a comfort level in his play that wasn't there a few weeks ago, and hopefully that continues.
This is not my first rodeo. I think some of these questions are being asked like I'm a rookie and I've never experienced this before. This is year 8 for me. I've played with some big-time, big-name receivers who have done some great things in this league before that aren't named Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, okay?
Nobody's told me anything, and I don't have a concern. I'll just wait and see. My key work's on Monday. Keep working. Go attack the Miami Dolphins, and plan on getting our first win next week.